What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Brave for America. I'm your host, Jesse, and in today's episode, it's sort of a last minute episode, but it's spreading like wildfire all over the world. It's probably the number one trending topic here in the United States, and it is the Epstein cover up. What is actually going on? We're going to try to make sense of it, give you my perspective on it, my take on it. Let's see if the deep state actually exists. And also, the Trump administration is in turmoil. There's a division in the DOJ. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, unless you are living under a rock, by now you know that the number one story and topic that is trending around the world, in particular here in the United States, is the Epstein cover-up. Now, there's a whole bunch of things going on with that. We all know exactly if we're not too sure if the deep state is involved, but just to give you a breakdown of what's been going on. So during Sunday, a week from now, they release the so-called files and evidence that they had under Jeffrey Epstein. This was during 4th of July weekend when everybody's relaxing, coming back from the holiday. And also here in Texas, there was a big disaster that happened in Kirkville County, with the whole Guadalupe River, and now it comes to find out there's over 100 to 200 people that have passed away. So they try to throw this under the rug, try to throw people off. They didn't want nobody to see what were their findings, and of course they leaked it to believe a left-wing news outlet and let them know that there was no client list, there is no videos, and there's nobody involved. Jeffrey Epstein did this solely by himself, and he committed suicide. So we all know right off the bat, this caught like wildfire, so it was never swept under the rug. People noticed it, people published it, they were reposting all over social media, and of course, it comes to find out that they lied to us again. Now, are they hiding something? Absolutely. They're hiding something. Do I know the extent of what they're hiding and who is involved? No. We don't know. But obviously they're hiding something, and we know that this administration has said that they're going to be the most transparent administration out there, that they were going to release these files, that they were going to release all the well-known files, JFK, MLK, RFK, and of course Jeffrey Epstein. They had promised, that was one of the promises they ran on during the campaign, and then they promised to the American people that they're going to release to the public, and everybody was going to find out finally the truth of what happened in these cases. Now, everybody was really interested in the Jeffrey Epstein case. Why? Well, just to give you a little background on that, and you could do some digging on your own, but I'm going to just give you the basic information that you need to know about Jeffrey Epstein. So Jeffrey Epstein, which is a millionaire that ran pretty much a sex trafficking operation. Now, he had his own island. I think he had two big houses, one somewhere in Florida and one in New York. So this guy was very wealthy. It's unclear how he gained his wealth, but he was a millionaire and he was running this big operation, and he did have other people in this operation helping him out. Of course, he had his own partner. It was Ghislaine Maxwell running this operation, which right now she's doing time for 20 years. And now it comes to find out why she's doing those 20 years, which is hilarious, right? How she's doing the 20 years when it's coming out that there's no straightforward evidence that anybody was involved, which is it's pretty crazy, right? The hypocrisy. But yeah, so this big operation, he has his own. A lot of people were involved, sex trafficking women, in particular young women, and very wealthy man, gained his wealth. It's unclear again how he gained his wealth, but we know that there's powerful people involved, politicians, actors, people in Hollywood, very powerful men that were involved in this whole operation. Now, Jeffrey Epstein is known for having tons of tapes, also blackmailing wealthy politicians and wealthy billionaires like Bill Gates, allegedly. But at this point, we cannot confirm who exactly was involved, because according to the sources and according to the DOJ, Pam Bondi, and the FBI, there is no significant evidence or credible evidence that anybody was involved, that Jeffrey Epstein acted alone. Now, we all know this is all BS, because we all have been lied to multiple times. And we thought this administration, even myself, that they're going to be the most transparent administration. And to this point, and because of these files not being released, is all false. Now, what exactly is going on with this whole Jeffrey Epstein? I mean, nobody knows. I do believe that the deep state is stronger than we think. I was kind of in the middle if the deep state actually existed, and this proved that it does. Now, to the full extent, how powerful are they calling the shots? I am not too sure. But Trump and his administration is losing all credibility, not only from myself, but anybody and everybody that voted for him in this past election. Now, just to give you a timeline of what happened before this leak that happened on 4th of July weekend. So the beginning of this administration, again, they had promised the release of these files. Everybody wanted to know what happened with JFK. Everybody wants to know what happened with RFK, MLK. But everybody wanted to tune in, because this is the biggest scandal of our century, of our decade, was the Jeffrey Epstein files. Everybody wanted to know who were the people involved. So they had promised, and of course we had Pam Bondi, DOJ, and again, just to give you a timeline and try to break down what she said. So she came out somewhere in February and said, I believe it was on Fox News, one of the hosts asked her, hey, when are you going to release the Jeffrey Epstein files? And she responded and said, yep, I'm going to release them soon. They're on my desk now. And I think the guy said, when are you going to release the client files? Those were his words. And she said, I'm going to release them soon. They're on my desk now, and I'm reviewing them right now. So that's what she said on February of this year. Fast forward to, I think, the end of February, and she said the same thing, but with a different host on Fox, and I believe it was Jessie Waters. Jessie Waters asked her, hey, when are we going to see those files? Are you going to release those files soon? And she said, yep, we're going to release them tomorrow. This is breaking news now that we're going to release everything right now. We're going to release everything tomorrow. So you are the first platform to know that we're going to release all the files. And yep, that happened in February. Then I think some point in May, she called in a whole bunch of influencers. I think initially they were there just to meet with the president, but then she told them, hey, I have new evidence on the Jeffrey Epstein files. Here are some binders. You're going to go out there, of course. They're going to take pictures, and of course it's going to spread like wildfire. And it literally on the binder, it said, I think it said Jeffrey Epstein files phase 1. So they went out there, these influencers went out there, they were waving out these binders that said phase 1 of the Jeffrey Epstein files. And of course, they had no clue what was in the files. And it comes to find out that information was already released to the public. So there was no new evidence, there was no new client list, there was no new flight logs. It was just information we already knew about Jeffrey Epstein prior. Then she came out and said, "Oh, it comes to find out that the FBI office in New York have not released the rest of the files. I am in communication with them now, and I'm gonna have them send all evidence and files they have to my desk here in Washington by the end of this month." So that's what happened. We waited, and I believe in, I think May too, or the beginning of June. It's kind of, the months don't matter, right? I'm giving you the sequence of exactly how this all unfolded. So, but I want to say this happened either the end of May or the beginning of June, where there was a video that was going to be leaked, that was recorded, that Pam Bondi was at some kind of restaurant or some food area in Washington, and she was talking to, I think it was either a stranger or one of her friends, and somebody recorded from a distance, because they saw it was Pam Bondi, and she was giving out information in regards to the Jeffrey Epstein files. And in that video, she pretty much said, yes, this guy is disgusting. There's over 1,000 tapes of Jeffrey Epstein with children, committing sexual acts with children in the videos. So I think that video was sent out to some famous journalist. I forgot his name, but he's well known. And he sent her the email. So instead of leaking it out right away, he sent her an email and said, hey, he pretty much, threatened her and said, hey, I have a video of you saying that you know some things about the Jeffrey Epstein file that we have not heard of. If you don't leak this information or you don't talk about this, I'm going to release it to the American people. So it was a coincidence. The next day, she went out and said, yes, there's a whole bunch of videos of Jeffrey Epstein with minors and with kids, committing sexual acts with kids. So, sexually assaulting kids. So she came out and said that, and she said, we're looking at them. We want to protect the victim and their names and their families, but we are going to release the information we have. So this happened again, May or June, and then it comes to find out now that on Sunday of 4th of July, that there is no credible evidence that those videos were just child pornography. It wasn't Epstein in the videos. It wasn't anybody else involved in the videos. It was just child pornography. That's it. That was it. And there was no credible evidence that anybody was involved, and he committed suicide. And again, we all know that's BS, but that is the timeline. So with that, we know that there is something deeper going on here. There is something deeper going on here. Not sure what they're hiding. And when I started thinking about it, 3 points came to my mind. 3 points. And these are possible things. And also, before I even make those 3 points, I do want to say that, yes, we should hold Pam Bondi accountable. We should, because she has lied on multiple occasions that she said she was going to release the Epstein file. Not only did she lie, but she also wanted us, I think she just wanted the likes and the fame as well. But we also have to hold Donald Trump accountable. And the reason I say that is because he is the leader. He is our president. And he is the one who actually chose Pam Bondi to be part of his cabinet. Now, he has the authority to fire her. And to this day, which I'll elaborate in a little bit, he has not. But he has the full authority to fire her. And he just hasn't. Now, what is Donald Trump hiding? Or is he hiding anything? I'm not too sure. But these are the 3 points that I think and I believe is the reason why we're not seeing this files. One, and this has to do with Donald Trump, because I think he's not only the reason, but I think he doesn't want these files to be out for some reason. When he promised the American people they were going to be out. But back to my point. So the first thing I believe is, I think he's getting blackmailed. And the reason I say that is because and I don't think he's involved in whatsoever in the Epstein case. I don't think he committed any sexual act with young women and children, which that is of course disgusting. And if he did, then he should be held accountable. But I don't think he is. But I think he is getting blackmailed for something. I'm not too sure. Is he did the deep state threaten his kids? Did they threaten to kill his wife? Who knows? I can't confirm that. But I think they're blackmailing him in some form or way. And has to be the deep state that's blackmailing. Reason two, I think he's protecting somebody, right? He's protecting somebody. Not sure who he's protecting. Is he protecting Israel? Is he protecting Bibi Netanyahu? Is he protecting his children? Some politician he knows that was involved. He's protecting somebody. And three, and this is the most outrageous one, is I believe, and this is just a theory, he might have gotten MK Ultra. Now you might think I'm crazy, and I thought this was the most crazy thing out there, because when I first saw it, I mean I'm pretty sure. Right now, those of you that are listening think I'm a little bit of crazy and it's conspiracy theorist, but that's a reason, right? That's just one of my theories that I believe he has gotten or received some kind of MK Ultra brainwashed procedure. And again, the reason I'm saying that, and the reason I throw that logic out, or that theory out, is because if you have read Charles Manson, the name of the book is called Charles Manson and the Involvement of the CIA and FBI. Now I'm currently reading that book and I'm almost to the end. So with that intel, or with that information in the book, and again, I'll do a quick review on that book once I finish it, but the chapter in the book I'm in right now is towards the end of the book, and it's talking about MK Ultra. And again, I thought it was the most crazy thing. You have not heard, I don't think I've heard anybody mention it except Candace Owens and some other podcasters. I think Ian Garrold, which he's always with Candace Owens, and I think of course Joe Rogan, because he loves conspiracy theories. But with MK Ultra, and again, it is the most crazy thing, and I keep saying that because it is. It sounds crazy. It sounds straight up from a movie, but it's not. So this actually happened. If you look back and do your own research, MK Ultra, it was a secret operation under the CIA in the 1950s. It ran all the way to the 1970s, so about 20 years, where they were pretty much practicing how to brainwash and infiltrate and alternate the brains in ways that they could manipulate your mind and make you do things that you have no knowledge of doing it afterwards. So it was a big operation. Supposedly it was unsuccessful, but the reason they found out, I think it was way after they finished their whole operation, those 20 years. I think the reason they found out because I think one of the CIA directors that went into the 1970s found out what they were doing and said, hey, these files need to come out. And I think Senator Ted Kennedy, one of the Kennedy brothers, said, hey, these need to be released to the American public. They need to know what exactly were the findings and what was the reason why the CIA decided to do this brainwash operation under the noses of the American people. So supposedly there was no significant evidence, but the book tells you that they were well involved in some riots during the hippie era. They were involved in those people that were coming, those soldiers that were coming from from the Korean War, that they were supposedly brainwashed by the Koreans and the Communist Party, that they were trying to figure out, was this a weapon that's going to be used in the future during the Cold War. But yeah, it was just, like I said, it is crazy. And And the whole thing with Charles Manson, so going back to the MK Ultra, they thought Charles Manson was actually working for the CIA, but also too, the book tells you a little bit of Jack Ruby, which was the killer that killed Lee Harvey Oswald when he was coming out, going into the patrol car, and of course he killed him in broad daylight, and afterwards comes to find out they had no acknowledgement of what he did. So people believe that he was also MK Ultra. Jolly West, which was a famous psychosis and doctor, and he worked for the CIA. So it's a whole bunch of it's a great read. Again, I'm reading that book. I'm almost to the end. I'll give you a quick review on that. But if you want to do your own research on MK Ultra, it's crazy, it's mind-blowing, and you're going to go into a deep rabbit hole, not only with the whole MK Ultra, but you're also going to find out how that connects to what's actually going on, what is actually going on here and today, in the present world today. Now, they believe that MK Ultra, they're using it for all sorts of things. They're using it in Hollywood, they're using it for politicians, and they're also using it for these alleged school shooters, and also Matthew Crooks, the one that tried to assassinate Trump about a year from now, or actually a year ago. People believe that he was MK Ultra, but again, there's no significant evidence just yet. There's no new evidence of what was his motive. What was he involved in the CIA? Who knows? But the reason I brought up that reason is because I do truly believe that there's a big possibility that he was MK Ultra. Now, I don't know the extent, I don't know when, but that's just a possibility, and that's just a theory that I'm throwing out. Am I crazy for saying this? Possibly, but it's just a theory. So, going back, and I know I went in a rabbit hole with MK Ultra, but those are the 3 reasons why I think this needs to be thrown out there, right? The theory needs to be thrown out there. Now, going back to the Jeffrey Epstein files, why they haven't been released, I am not too sure, but this does discredit everything that Donald Trump is doing, because people truly want to know who was involved. Who was involved? Was he involved? Was other powerful politicians involved? Or the politicians that we think were involved are involved? But everybody wants to know. Not only because they were involved, because also if it involves children being trafficked, abused, we want to know that too, right? Because it's going to be going on and on for centuries if these people are not held accountable. And just a couple of weeks ago, we had P. Diddy that was on this racketeering, trafficking and sex marathons or sex rings, whatever you want to call it, that it turns out that he at most he's only going to release 15 to 20. I mean, at most he's only going to do about 15 to about 20 years in prison, which we know that was a big scandal at the beginning of 2024. Comes to find out that he was running this whole big operation behind the scenes, trafficking a whole bunch of men, and he was not held accountable. But now that there is no credible evidence of Jeffrey Epstein and who was involved, we truly want to know exactly what's going on and why these powerful people are not being held accountable. Right? It's a sick world that we live in, and I know that we're not going to receive probably the justice that we want to see. But if we don't push for it and say something about it and keep bringing this up, not only to the administration, but the people that are part of this operation of covering it up, this is truly what we want. We want these files to be released. We want to know people that were involved. We want these people to, these kids that were trafficked, that were abused, that were sexually abused. We want them to receive the justice that they deserve. Because again, they're going to live in fear for the rest of their lives. They're going to be scared to walk out the door. They're going to know that these powerful people, these evil people won again. And they're not. Because the truth is always going to prevail. God is always in control. But we need to push for this. So, yeah, Trump is losing a little bit of credibility. Yes, he's doing great things. Yes, he's closing down the borders. We having countries respecting America again. That successful mission he did in Iran. The big beautiful bill. Putting America in the number one spot where we're supposed to be. But transparency is what we wanted and what we voted for. Full transparency. And I didn't get into politics maybe the beginning of 2024. And I didn't start recording to the end of 2024. But, I really resonated and really believed Trump when he was saying all those things and say, I'm going to bring some good people on my team, which he did. He brought RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth. Who else is in his cabinet that's trustworthy? I mean, those are the two people that actually drew me in and said, okay, man, it looks like Trump really wants to make a change. And not only do we want to make America healthy again, which that's what RFK brought to the table, and he's doing a fantastic job on that, but we wanted full transparency, and that's what actually drew me in to casting that vote back in November. Now, I know we cannot take back that vote, and I'm not going to do that because I know that there is something going on, right? It's something going on, and something needs to be brought into the light. Somebody needs to come forward if they truly know something. And not only that, the whole I think this past Friday, it looks like Dan Bongino is threatening to resign if Pam Bondi either decides to resign on her own or is fired by the Trump administration. So Dan Bongino, now I wasn't really too familiar with Dan Bongino until he came into the scene with Kash Patel, and they both were both fairly vocal and saying that they're before they even came into the administration, they both said on their respective platforms and podcasts and interviews they did, they said that there is something that the government is covering up, and if we are in that position of power, and once we go in there, we're going to release everything. That's what they both said. Kash Patel, he's the director of FBI, and then Dan Bongino was his deputy. So those two were the main ones in the FBI. Now they haven't necessarily lied to us, but they have been going along and saying, it looks like Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide, and that's from what I know, as far as I've seen. I have not seen them saying that there was tapes involved. I have not seen that they're gonna release every client list like Pam Bondi, but he has threatened to resign. Now it hasn't been confirmed if he's gonna resign or not. If Kash Patel is gonna follow his lead and resign as well, I'm not too sure. But that is just the whole chaos erupting in the DOJ, because the DOJ is actually in charge of the FBI. Now, if I have to choose somebody, and again, based on what I've seen on Dan Bongino, some of the videos I've seen before he came in, I'm going to side with Dan Bongino. But he needs to stick to his word. He needs to say, okay, she's not going to get fired, because that's what Donald Trump has said. I think he said on Sunday that he's not going to fire her, that she's doing a fantastic job. All right. So if Dan Bongino truly does resign, he needs to come forward and say truly what was his findings. He needs to go out either on the Joe Rogan podcast, Tucker Carlson, Patrick David, those big platforms. He needs to go out and say, hey, they're hiding something, and here's what they're hiding. So that's exactly what he needs to do. Until then, I'm pretty sure people are already lost their trust in Dan Bongino, because they're saying that he was going along with this whole scandal of there was no credible evidence that he was murdered, that he committed suicide. So I'm pretty sure he lost some of his following. But if he comes forward afterwards, I'm pretty sure he'll gain the trust again. But I'm not too sure. But there is chaos. There is turmoil going on in his administration. There's a division between the Trump voters. Where I stand on this, I mean, I want to see what's on these files. I want to see these people be held accountable. I want to see truth prevail. Till then, I mean, I'm losing faith and trust in the government. I am. I was disappointed when they were like, "Oh, there's nothing to release." I was very disappointed because I was like, "Man, this administration is on a track record. They're doing great things. They're making the promises like they say they were, but there's one thing." They cannot tell the government, their American people, what's going on. I don't know. Something is sketchy about this. Something doesn't feel right. Until they provide credible evidence, release these files, then, I mean, this administration is losing the trust of, voters, future voters, especially in the mid-election and in the 2028 election. This is going to give a leverage for the Democrat Party to come in and say these buzzwords and say that, see, we told you we were right all along, that he is a threat to democracy, and that Trump is actually in the files, and that's why the files don't want to be released. Now, again, I don't think he's in the files. The reason I keep saying that is because if he was in the files, how the justice system was being weaponized against him, and how they were doing everything possible to get Trump not elected again to be the 47th president. They were doing everything in the power. I think the DOJ under the Biden administration would have released something. Unless Biden was involved as well. Yeah, maybe Hunter Biden was involved. We all know Hunter Biden is pretty crazy. But who knows? I can't give you a definite answer of why they haven't released it. But I am upset. I am, this just shows me, hey, the one true, the only individual to place your true faith in is God and Jesus Christ. And I think I'm learning that as time goes on. Because, again, I was excited. I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this podcast. Not only talk about politics, but talk about what's going on in the United States. But I can't lie to my new listeners and say, yeah, keep on following Donald Trump. Because I'm not sure what that's going to lead to. If he doesn't want these files to be released, well, come forward and say why not. And I just think he's going to lose all credibility all the way into the next election. And, of course, he's not going to be up for election. I mean, whatever things he does next, I'm pretty sure it's going to be big. But I don't think anything's going to top this if he doesn't come out and say why these files are not released or why he hasn't released them, And also, too, when they asked him during his cabinet meeting this past week, they asked him, hey, well, they didn't ask him. They were directing the question to Pam Bondi. They were like, well, the reporters, I don't know what reporter, what news outlet it was, but it was a good question. They're like, hey, we noticed that you said that there was no evidence of him, that there was nobody on the client list, there's nobody involved, that Jeffrey Epstein did that by himself. Can you explain why? What were the findings? And before she was about to respond, Donald Trump came in and said, we're still talking about this guy? Like, we're doing all the good things and we're still talking about them? Why is everybody's so obsessed with Jeffrey Epstein? And as you're watching, because I watched the video and I was like, wait, did this man truly say why we're so why do we care when we care so much? There's children being involved, there's politicians being involved, powerful people being involved. We thought that's what you ran on, that you were going to release this and hold people accountable. That's why we care about it. But it seems like, either one, like I said, something, he's getting blackmailed. They have some kind of intel on Trump. He's protecting the deep state. He's MK Ultra, or he just simply doesn't want these files to be released. Now, don't know what to tell you guys. Just keep your faith in God, in Christ, and that's the best thing I could tell you, because at the end of the day, God is in the ultimate control. God put Trump in this leadership to lead us and to lead us to the truth. But again, it looks like he's not fulfilling that mission. He's not. But we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks as this all unfolds, or we're going to see what's going to happen. We're tired of cover-ups. We're tired of the government lying to us. We're just tired of it. We're tired of it, and we do want to see the transparency that was promised to us. Because if we don't see it, then they're lying to us. They're going to lie to us about the next thing and the next thing. It's lies after lies. Once you tell one lie, it's hard to it's hard to believe that person after they already lied once. It's hard for that person to convince us that they're telling the truth. So, yeah, we'll see what happens as these weeks unfold. I do hope that we get some accountability in the near future, that all of this is brought into light. And I know a lot of people have takes on it. You can hear different takes on YouTube, different takes on what's going on with this whole Jeffrey Epstein cover-up, and you can get your perspective from them. But as I feel now, I feel like I can't trust this administration. I can't trust what Trump says next. And I can't trust what's going to happen in the near future. So we're going to still do our thing. And I was excited to, again, start my podcast, start, giving the updates and proving people wrong. And I know it's not me, but again, I don't want to lie to people to keep on following somebody that lies, administration that lies. I don't want to force it on anybody. I'm still going to follow, but I think I'm going to just shift my podcast and actually just have a conversation with American people and talk about the American dream, talk about ways that we can improve American dream. Like I've said before, I've said that I was going to bring people on. I have not done that yet because I still want to give updates. There's a lot of great things that happened at the beginning of this administration, but as we're seeing, they're lying about something. They're hiding something deeper than what meets the eye. And, just having a conversation with people and how people feel about this, it'll be a great way for me to shift my focus to something else. But hopefully you enjoy today's episode, guys. This was supposed to be a short podcast. This was not planned. I'm still working on the Civil War, the Hispanic Civil War episode. I already finished recording. I'm doing all the edits. I'm gonna try to repost it by the mid of July. But some parts I'm not really satisfied with. There are some things that I feel like I could have drill deeper in. I stumbled on a few things and it was just unclear. The message is not clear as I want it to be clear. But I'm still gonna release it. I know there's still some good information and insight that you can get from the video. But yep, that is it, guys. Make sure that you hit the notification bell at the top so you can receive notifications, any new episodes. Make sure that you leave a comment below. What do you think about this whole Epstein cover-up? Do you believe Trump? What division? What side are you on? Or are you on any side? And are you against what's going on? Do you really think that this discourages and lacks your trust for this administration? We know that we want transparency, and I'm pretty sure everybody that's following me wants transparency as well. But again, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the episode. I will see you on the next one. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. Don't forget to be brave for our Creator. Be brave for our Lord and Savior. Be brave for our loved ones. And be brave for America. That is it, everybody.